I'll tell you, last week we did not record because when I do Spa for the Soul, I want it to be a space where people can be totally open and private. And so for that, we don't record.
That's good.
But this is recorded. And it's good to see you.
Yeah.
And Myra, yesterday I saw the relative of yours that I know. One
Thank you. Yeah.
related to your son-in-law, right?
Son-in-law's sister. I don't know what that makes her to me, but we're relatives.
Mishpacha.
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
If any of you have children in your life who are of camping age, we have a camp fair on Sunday or on your block. They don't have to be members of the Jewish Center. They just have to be Jewish. We'd like them to come and learn about great Jewish summer camping options, and not just options, USY Pilgrimage, which is a teen tour to Israel, USY on Wheels, which is teen tours all over the country, and lots of other places. Okay, I think I will begin if that's okay with y'all. Is that good?
Great.
So we're going to begin with a blessing. La'asok b'divrei Torah. But I hate saying. I just feel like saying is hard, but singing is easier. So I'm putting this in the chat. Have any of you been to B'nai Jeshurun in New York, or sometimes called BJ? Okay, so the cantor at BJ is named Cantor Ari Priven. When I first knew him, he was not yet a cantor, but he was the musical director there. And he taught me this tune, and I think he wrote it. So it goes like this. You'll hear it once, and then you can join me forever on. And anyway, la'asok, to be busy with, which that's an amazing word, right? La'asok, to be busy with divrei Torah, words of Torah. Here's how it goes. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Try it with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. La'asok b'divrei Torah, b'divrei Torah. Try with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. La'asok b'divrei Torah. Divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, who commands us to learn and be busy with words of Torah. Amen. So I was thinking about Shabbat as a sikum, a summary of 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to go around as our way of checking in. And then we're going to move on to other Jewish holidays. And like you said, you prefer an hour, so I'll do an hour and 10, so it's not an hour and a half. Compromise. The art of Jewish compromise, and say a question to you all, which is, what is something that you like to do about Shabbat now? Or like a practice you like to do, or practice that you want to add? And so I'm going to start, and I will say that I loved pre-pandemic having people at my Shabbos table, and I hope to, again, when things become safer, have people at my Shabbos table.
Well, I'm so excited. Are we going in any order? Is it okay?
We're going whoever wants to speak. It's like a quicker meeting.
Okay. I'm really excited because I'm in my new apartment in Florida, and I wasn't really sure how I was going to do my Shabbat rituals. And as a welcome gift, my sister-in-law gave me a Kiddush cup and candlestick.
Wow, nice.
So I thought, what a great gift. If you have any friends that buy a second house, like, it was such a great gift. So it's an amazing spot. And I'm excited to do it down here.
Nice. Okay, who's going next? And I think we're hearing some feedback. So if you're not talking, you should mute And then unmute when you are talking, because we're hearing feedback from someone. Whoever wants to talk, jump in. Evelyn, I see you.
Myself there. I've unmuted myself. You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have to say, for a while, I was buying the challah and lighting candles. I've sort of, I don't know why, I kind of go in phases doing it or not doing it. But I will say, while
Did everyone else lose her? Or just me? We
What?
lost you a little, so say it again if you could.
Oh, okay, I was just saying I've gone up and down in my religious observance, and for a while I was more into making sure we had challah and I lit the candles, and we just my husband and I, because children are no longer around here. But anyway, the point I want to make is for those few minutes of lighting the candles, having the wine and saying the blessing, there was a serenity and a nice feeling. And I don't know, whatever that was, it was Shabbat, it was special. And then I got away from it. So hopefully one of these days I will get myself back into that same place again.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm putting our list in the chat. And somebody else, please jump in.
I'll go. During the pandemic, I was only able to attend Shabbat services by live stream or Zoom. And recently I've been to services in person last week and 2 weeks before that. And I'd like to keep coming in person. It really added a lot. And it was great to see everyone and hear the rabbi.
Cool.
So I hope that'll continue.
Okay, someone else go.
I'd like to say once things calm down from the pandemic, whenever that's going to be, I would like to see late night Shabbat services, like after dinner at the Jewish Center Friday nights. I always found that very comforting. My favorite part of the week being Jewish.
Okay. How do we have Shabbat dinner then? Okay, we'll talk about it after. All
Have it
right, who
before.
else? Actually, I'll tell you, Dave, the last trip I took was before the pandemic, was to Spain, and my friends and I spent Shabbat in Madrid and went to the conservative shul in Madrid. We were staying in an Airbnb, and we were wondering what we would do for Shabbat dinner. And our host there said, have a snack and you'll have Kiddush with us. Kiddush in Spain starts at 10:30 at night and goes till 12:30, 1 in the morning, and includes like dinner and breakfast, like just a lot of food and really late. So I guess it's whatever culture you're in.
When I was in Spain on business, that was the day. The day ended at 6 o'clock. Everyone went home until around 9:30 or 10 and then went out to dinner. The
Yes.
streets are empty at 9 o'clock at night. Everyone's napping.
All right, we'll serve kugel at 10 o'clock at the Jewish Center. See how that goes. Who's next? Suzanne, jump in.
So I think the one thing that I'm looking forward to returning is the Torah procession on Shabbat morning. That I happened to be at services away from home this Shabbat, and they still did that. It was interesting what they chose to do and what not, but yeah, I missed that. I didn't realize quite how much.
Cool. All right, anyone else? Yeah, Roberta.
I'm happy that during the pandemic, the Kaufmans and the Sternthals got together on Zoom. Well, actually, we did FaceTime, and did Shabbat together. We each lit candles in our own homes and broke the challah in our own homes. But now we've started to do it together. So we do every other week, we each take a turn.
Wonderful. Having Shabbat groups. Anyone else? Yeah, Heidi.
Roberta, we did something similar. There's a group of like 12 of us, and we did that on Friday nights. We would have our Friday night, we'd have dinner, and then we would get together and do our version of Friday night and light the candles. And it was it was really nice. And we really all looked forward to the Friday night get together because it was our only real social activity. But now I'm really looking forward to the Jewish Center semi-opening up and being able to start to spend Shabbat with my friends again, in real life. I miss that.
We are fully open. You are welcome at all times. Okay, or you're welcome on live stream or Zoom. Yeah, Lauren.
I really miss not being at services Shabbat morning regularly like I was, and I hope I'll get to a point where I'll feel comfortable doing that. But Shabbat has become just the day really of watching live stream and then just being, and it's calm, and I'm not running to look at the emails, certainly not doing anything that has to do with TJC, and it's just become a really nice time of reflection, and I'm really enjoying that.
Thank you. Ellen.
Oh, I enjoy services on Shabbat morning just about whenever I can be there, which is most of the time. But the one thing I miss is Kiddush after services on Shabbat morning. Not only being there Fridays preparing it, but then being there to sit with friends and, walking around and schmoozing with people after services during Kiddush. I just can't wait for that to come back.
Last week we had soup, as you know.
That was great.
And on the Shabbat Hanukkah, we have Eric Diamondstein's bar mitzvah. And so there'll be lunch for everyone then. And we hope moving forward there will be, but I'm throwing down the gauntlet, out the gauntlet, down the gauntlet, right?
Mhm. Yep.
You try to come up with something culinary related to the Parsha. Look in the Parsha and try to come up with something culinary related. I did it last week with the soup, but there is something in every Parsha, some sort of something you can do. Okay.
Well, we're hoping to start this again as much of the Kiddush crew knows, on the 25th of December. So Ellen, we'll have to figure out something that's Parsha related as we.
No. On the 25th, you have to serve Chinese food.
Absolutely.
Right?
We did that here one year. We all served Chinese food, and we did a little music presentation on Christmas songs that were written by Jews.
Many.
Doug, I'm not sure if you were without the computer issues, but I think it's already in the chat, Rabbi's question that we're all answering. So,
and we're just going to take one or two more answers because we're going to go to the next holiday.
What is it? I didn't.
What is something you love about Shabbat that you do now or that you want to do in the future?
Oh, I don't know. I saw someone talk on TV a while ago about their life would have been a failure if they were like in Walmart with their family, right? And I thought to myself, my God, to me that sounds like a piece of heaven. So to answer the question, like a wife and kids on Shabbat, like just being at home sounds like the most amazing thing I'd ever had in my whole life, and I probably won't. So it's all good.
Yeah. So Shabbat is called Me'ein Olam Haba in Jewish literature. Me'ein Olam Haba means a taste of the world to come. Like that, an idea that there's something heavenly about Shabbat. So gathering on Shabbat should be something that we enjoy. So whichever ways you can put into your life that will make you enjoy Shabbat is what we all should strive to do. One thing that I try to do is I try to coordinate my kippot usually with what I'm wearing. It's like a fashionista thing. But on Shabbat, you will notice that most often I'm wearing a kippah that has the base color white. If you've ever been to Jewish summer camp, the most beautiful scene, right? Friday night, when kids and adults are all in white, or at least white tops. And there's something very equalizing about it as well, and just beautiful. So there are little and big ways that we can make our Shabbat special. And I hope that we continue to find those. Okay, we're going to move on from the best and biggest holiday that happens every week, Shabbat, to learning about Jewish holidays, hopefully with a little more intensity than we already know. But I want to ask you some questions before we go delve a little deeper. How many of you have ever had an EKG? We are all of an age where most of you should have had an EKG at some point in your life. What do they look like? Can someone describe what it looks like? In words, I see some people doing.
The series of sine waves showing electrical impulses being measured up or down on a piece of paper.
Ups or downs, ups or downs. So I'd like you to think about the Jewish year as almost like a connective EKG of ups and downs, of emotional highs and lows. And each of our holidays evokes for us feelings of nostalgia of what we had or what we didn't have, and maybe what we could have. But they all come with their own sense of where and how we're supposed to feel emotionally during that holiday or that commemoration, because not all of our holidays are festive. Some of our holidays are days of commemoration as well. So I'd love really quickly, and I asked every bar bat mitzvah kid the question, what's your favorite holiday? And I want to say that most of them do not say Hanukkah. It's so interesting. Most of them say either Rosh Hashanah or Pesach because they like getting together with family. Right. And I love that. I mean, you love that. I love that. And once in a while they'll say Hanukkah and. So do you have a particular holiday that you love and one that you do not like? Maybe if you want to jump in, one you love and one you don't like as much. And I'll say that I, as someone who has a kitchen, and who makes my kitchen fully and completely kosher for Passover, find preparing for Passover difficult. But I love it, but it's difficult. Anyone have a fave holiday?
I love everything about Pesach.
Okay.
There's not a downside to it that I can come up with.
Okay, you love Pesach. Anyone else?
I have to agree. Passover has always been my favorite. I love the tradition. I love the story. I love the Seder. I love the food. Everything.
I'll agree. I agree with Fran and Ellen. Pesach is my favorite for all those reasons, but also for me, I just have such wonderful, warm memories of my extended family, everyone being together for the holiday. And it's really, it just feels good to me. And we've continued it for all these years. So I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, Evelyn?
I love Sukkot because we bought a sukkah when my kids were in high school. It was a great sukkah. It had these aluminum poles and a canvas, a cloth on the outside, and some kind of bamboo, whatever kind of wood on the top. And my husband and I can put that up without. Sometimes we would get the poles in the wrong place, and we had to redo it again until we figured out where does everything go. Right. But the kids initially wanted to sleep out overnight in there, and I think they made half a night, and then it was, I don't know, too cold. They came in. But what I like eating in the sukkah, maybe because when I grew up, we were friends with a religious family, and we always ate in the sukkah. So often we'll have friends over, and a sukkah isn't huge. It can sit maybe 8 people, but if you have 20 people, you can't fit in the sukkah. But I always buy the lulav and the etrog, and we have friends over, and whether we eat in there or just say the blessing and eat outside, I like Sukkot.
So are there any, yeah, Fran?
I've already spoken, but I just wanted to add that I have 2 daughters-in-law, both raised Catholics. And at least for one of them, Pesach is now her favorite holiday.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's
She
good.
loves this. She's very socially conscious and she loves the story.
The message.
the
By the way,
message.
I will run a workshop on running a great Passover Seder, but my biggest advice to everyone is have someone not Jewish and not a family member at your Seder, because then everyone's on better behavior. Really, it's you have less family fighting. People have to be like nicer to each other. Okay, so here is the opposite question. Is there a Jewish holiday that you know of that you don't really relate to so much? Yet. The great answer of Rosenzweig, I don't relate to it yet. Any Jewish holiday that's not so primary for you? Everyone here get into Tisha B'Av?
I was just gonna say Tisha B'Av it is a holiday, right?
Yeah.
It's not like an I don't relate to it.
Right, so Tisha B'Av. I
Yeah.
did not hear one person here say Shavuot.
I love Shavuot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'd like to do in the next, however long we have tonight, and the next time I see you, which is in 2 weeks, is to really discuss that ebb and flow of the Jewish year and how it helps us to think about our emotional connection to a holiday, and also how the music of the holiday and the meanings behind it. So if you were to want to find where the holidays are in the Torah, you would go to Parashat Emor. Happens to be my bat mitzvah parsha. We also happen to read it on the Shalosh Regalim, on the 3 pilgrimage festivals. And in that parsha, they name the important holidays of the Jewish people. And guess what? Hanukkah and Purim are not there. So according to the Torah, you guess, and I'm sure you know, what are the important holidays and how are they grouped? Who wants to jump in besides the kitty cat? So Shabbat's first. Then what? Yeah, Doug.
The important holidays, I would say.
No, the holidays mentioned in the Torah. They're all important, but the ones mentioned in the Torah.
Oh, I could probably do that.
Okay.
Yom Kippur.
Right? And Yom Kippur is called the Sabbath of Sabbaths, Shabbat Shabbaton.
Which was when the golden calf thing happened. And right, I mean, isn't that what it correlates to? The forgiveness from the golden calf was the original impetus for the. No, I'm pretty sure I heard that. It's tinking around up there.
I'll go look. It's okay, I'll go look. Shabbat Shabbaton. It's written in the Torah about Yom Kippur. What else?
So Rosh Hashanah is when we get the Torah, right?
So Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year. You don't have to talk about what it is, just Rosh Hashanah, that's right. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Shabbat. Let's jump on someone else so that more people participate. What other holidays do you think are mentioned in the Torah?
The pilgrimage festivals,
The pilgrimage festivals, and they are?
Sukkot, Passover, and
Pesach and Shavuot.
Shavuot. Okay, so that's it. Every other holiday you're going to read about is not mentioned in the Torah. They are later in Jewish history. We have a lot of holidays. In fact, if you talk to any school superintendent in a religious area, a public school area, they'll say there's a lot of Jewish holidays that people need off for, right? So the ones in the Torah.
Can you repeat those last 3?
Yeah, it's okay. We're going to keep going. We're going to go delve deep into them, Heidi. And in fact, we're going to start with the first one of the year. And most people think Sukkot is the first one of the year because it starts right after. Sukkot is 4 days after Yom Kippur. I love when people say, why is it so close this year to Yom Kippur? It is not this year. It is always 4 days after Yom Kippur. It feels close when the holidays are earlier in the summer kind of thing. But that's not the first of the pilgrimage holidays. The first of the pilgrimage holidays, if we want to count them the way the Torah does, is Passover.
Pesach.
What?
I said Pesach. Yeah.
Pesach. Why? What is behind Pesach that makes it the first holiday of the year? This is like a thought question that I think you'll know.
First time we fought for our independence, it became a nation.
When
Well-
it's really when we become a nation, when we leave, we go into Egypt as a clan or a family, and we leave as a people. Also, Pesach is Nisan, and Pesach is the first month of the year. This is a tricky question. According to the Talmud, how many New Years are there in the Jewish year? And it's not one, and it's not two, and it's not three. So it is 4. There are 4 New Years and we'll study this another time, but according to the Talmud, there are 4 different New Years. One has to do with animals and one has to do with trees. Okay, the first of the pilgrimage festivals is Passover. The second of the pilgrimage festivals is Shavuot. The third is
Sukkot.
Sukkot. So I'd like for you to think about a couple different things. Each one of these, and by the way, you don't have to remember any of this. I have notes to send to all of you tomorrow that you'll get. Don't take notes, you don't need to. Or you can if you'd like. Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot. Each one has a religious meaning. Each one has a universalistic meaning. Each one has an agricultural meaning. And anthropologists believe, and religious study folks, that all 3 of these holidays predate Judaism in some way. Is that interesting or new or unusual? So, okay, so let's go for the religious message of all 3, because that's the one we're most usually taught. We just heard, what's the religious message of Passover? Why does Fran's daughter-in-laws love it?
Because it's about getting freedom.
Freedom.
Because the trope of it is, the message of it is freedom from oppression. That's actually not the traditional message. It's freedom from oppression in order to be able to do God's will, to do mitzvot. Okay, that's the religious message of Passover. We left Egypt, and so therefore we will do God's mitzvot. Religious message. Shavuot, which is 50 days later after the second night of Passover. So intricately connected to Passover. What's the religious message of Shavuot? Yeah, Suzanne.
It's when the Torah was given in terms of timing after the Exodus.
Yeah, so a real traditionalist will say it's when the Torah was given. Someone a little bit less traditional will say it's when revelation occurred. Maybe it was just the 10 Commandments that was given. Maybe God interfaced with Moses individually and they had some kind of revelatory experience, but it is about revelation. It is about Torah, or God's revealing God's presence and God's words to the Jewish people. What's Sukkot about? The religious message.
Mhm.
Harder, right? Well, why do you sit in a sukkah? Why do you sit in a flimsy booth when you all own beautiful homes or rent homes? So the religious message, yeah, Fran.
Oh, I was going to answer your question. I'm not
Yeah.
sure how it's related to the religious question. Wasn't it because there were booths in the 40 years of wandering? Mhm.
Yes, it's a time where we remember the wanderings of the Jewish people in the desert, where all we had for protection was a flimsy sukkah. So it was really all about God's protection. It's the religious message of understanding the fragility of life, which we all understand because we all have people who've died or have sick people, or we understand that. But
Rabbi,
yeah,
I thought it was interesting this year that they related it to homelessness with the Sukkah village to tie it into the concept
Yeah.
of homelessness. I thought that was a great
Beautiful.
connection to bring it, to make it even broader than perhaps the way we would normally think about it. I really thought that was a really wonderful idea.
It is wonderful. And when I was a young student at JTS, they would have a fundraiser in the Sukkot every year for the local homeless shelter. And really, it is about that vulnerability that all of us have. What is our protection? That's the religious message. But those weren't the original messages. So think about the timing and think about not living in North America, but that all of these holidays relate to the land of Israel.
Oh, going to Jerusalem.
Agriculture.
Agriculture. These holidays predate our own religious lives in that they were all festivals of the harvest. How many of you saw the movie or read the book? It's that about like harvest festivals in Australia. The Thornbirds, like a salacious book from the 80s, right? But if you look at the scenes of the harvest festival, that's what these were, right? Everyone coming together to shear the sheep together. Everyone coming together to pick the crops together. If you live on a kibbutz today and it's the beginning of the date picking season at the end of the summer, it's actually a big deal. It's a big deal when the harvest begins and ends. So what is the agricultural significance of Pesach? Well, what's it called? It's called Chag HaAviv. What's Aviv in Hebrew?
Spring?
Yeah, Chag HaAviv, the holiday of spring. Right? So it is about the beginnings of the spring harvest. Now that means in the land of Israel, Tu B'Shvat, right? The 15th of Shvat is when the soil is ready to be planted, which is why that's when you plant in Israel. And if you're in America and you go to Hebrew school, you plant a little parsley in a cup and hopefully it'll be ready at Passover. Do we still do that in Hebrew school? I love that. I love when they get to see it grow. But the agricultural piece is that we live and die by what the land produces. So we need to celebrate it and remember it. So Passover is the beginning of that very first spring harvest. Before big supermarkets, remember when you could only get a tomato in the summer? Any of you remember that? And then there was blueberry season, and then there's no seasons now. You can get any vegetable anytime. But doesn't a Jersey tomato in the end of the summer taste better than anything you get in the grocery store now? Right, so these harvest festivals celebrate the land giving us what to live on. So 50 days after Passover, what do we have? Shavuot, but we do something to get from Shavuot, from Pesach to Shavuot. We count
the Omer?
The Omer.
And the Omer is a sheaf of grain. An Omer is a grain sheaf. Again, tying us city people back to the land, reminding us that we are ultimately connected to the land, reminding us that even if we have these particularistic reasons for celebrating a holiday, we also have universal reasons that connect us to all of humanity. So Shavuot is the beginning of the summer harvest. What is Sukkot then?
The fall.
Harvest.
The end. Well, in Israel, there's not really fall in Israel. In Israel, it's like more the end of the summer harvest. At the end of the summer harvest. And one of the things that we do at the end of Sukkot is that we pray for rain. Well, if you live in North America, that's a little silly because it rains all the time, right? But if you live in Israel and it rains in July, something's wrong. Usually, when you pray for rain, that next week, you'll get rain for the first time in the Middle East. It's every once in a while that you won't. Okay, so you have the particularistic reason for celebrating each holiday, but know that there's a layer of the holiday celebration that came before our religious reasons. Anthropologically, this existed before, and we're layering on it a religious reason. But we also layer on a different way of celebrating, and that's cultural celebration. So what are some of the cultural celebrations of Passover, right? Well, it's how we eat and what we don't eat and how we have people over. In Sukkot, it's building a sukkah and it's benching lulav and etrog. And now I'm going to go back to Shavuot and say, what are the cultural pieces of Shavuot that make Shavuot come alive for you or not alive?
Dairy.
Yeah. So Shavuot, we'll come back to dairy. Shavuot is the festival, besides being the festival of the summer harvest, it's what we call the Festival of Bikurim. Bikurim means first fruits. So some people say it's the first fruit of the year, but it might also be the best fruit of the year. And you would come to, why is it called a pilgrimage festival?
Go to Jerusalem.
Right, so you're on these three festivals, the tradition is to be a pilgrim and to go up to Jerusalem. And it comes from the Hebrew, right? Pilgrimage, the English word comes from the Hebrew regel, foot. You know, Shimon Omer, Simon says, Yadayim ala regel, put your hand on your regel, your foot. Regalim is how you say the festivals, feet. The festivals are actually called feet, regalim, because in order to observe the festival, you would go to Jerusalem. By the way, for those of you who know Christian lore, what do we know about Jesus and the festivals? Oh, wait, Susan, you're on mute. No, let's see if we can ask her to unmute. I just tried. Do you want to put it in the chat? Oh, there it is. Good.
The only thing I know is that Jesus was going to Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover.
Yeah, because that's what you did. You went to Jerusalem. So here's another question. How do you say, and I love this little factoid, how do you say these three holidays and these three holidays only? There's one word for this kind of holiday. It's really short. Begins with a chet. Ends with a gimel. What?
Chag.
Chag. Right. Chag.
Oh, right.
Chag. So some people say Chag Sameach for any holiday, but really traditionally the only holidays that are Chag are 3 pilgrimage festivals. Who knows what the word is? And what do you do on the 3 pilgrimage festivals? The international symbol for going up. If you've seen the West Wing. Going up to Jerusalem. What do Muslims do in Mecca and Medina? They make pilgrimage to Mecca and Medina, and it's called the Hajj. Same word. Chag, pilgrimage. Hajj, pilgrimage. Same word. Same concept. Same idea. They got it from us. They did. They were, 6th or 7th centuries after Christianity, which is, maybe 1,500, 2,000 years after Judaism. So yeah, Hajj. One more way that actually the Muslim holidays and Muslim culture is actually much closer to Judaism than Christianity is. I think most of us know that. If we can leave the politics aside, zakat in Arabic is tzedakah. It's the same word, very closely related. So Chag and Hajj. So here's my question to the smart people of the Jewish Center of Princeton. Why did Shavuot not take off in America yet? There's a really good answer for it.
My personal thought is because we're not in Hebrew school at that time.
That's it.
Oh.
That's one. There's one more. Holidays make a bigger impression on us when there's home ritual. Judaism just in the synagogue doesn't work as well as Judaism in our homes, which is why when you look at the Pew studies on Jewish identity, more people who identify as Jewish in our country do something for Passover. It may not be a Seder, but they go to Passover dinner, something. More people do Passover than any other Jewish holiday. We believe, rabbis and historians and other folks believe, because it's home-based. Because you're getting your family together. And because it's really like, yes, there's shul, but you really want people to be at home around, or someone's home around a Seder table. Okay, I want to go now to the full overview of the year, unless anyone has anything they want to say about these festivals, except each one the dog is up. Each one gets its own Megillah, right? In addition to reading Torah readings and Haftarah, each one gets its own readings. So Shavuot, not Shavuot, Pesach gets Song of Songs. We're beginning the springtime. It's kind of romantic time. It's now a romance, God, the Jewish people. And you read the most erotic book in the Bible in shul on Passover. If you haven't read Song of Songs, you should. It's an amazing literary work. Okay, what book do we read then on Shavuot? One of my favorite.
Book of Ruth.
Yeah, we read the Book of Ruth. Why? Because it's a pilgrimage festival that has to do with the harvest, right? All these have to do with the harvest. If you look in the Book of Ruth, it's about there's a famine, and then there's a harvest, and then there's a famine again. And so people are moving all over the Middle East, like they always do in the Bible, to find where the food is. And at the end of the book, in the book, someone converts, and then her descendant becomes King David. And then that descendant of King David will someday be the Messiah. So it's this incredible a book about what it means to bring redemption in the world, which is you don't have to be born Jewish. You just have to accept Torah, which is what you do on Shavuot. You accept revelation. So we read the Book of Ruth to remind us that we need to have good food in the world, and that the food isn't owned by us, but owned by God to share. And that it doesn't matter if you were born Jewish, you can still give birth to the Messiah a few generations later. Sukkot, the book that we often, actually, Jonathan Gross read it this year. What do we read on Sukkot? It's the most enigmatic book of the Bible. Ecclesiastes. Don't read it if you're depressed. It's a great, well, vanity of vanities. The whole world is vanity. It's a hard book to read. It's a beautiful book to read, and it has real statements about how hard life is. If anyone has had a year where there's been nothing hard this year, let me know. Put your hand up. Yeah, right. So Ecclesiastes reminds us that in every generation, there are hardships. We're not the first. Okay. So what I want to do is share my screen, and hopefully Suzanne and I practiced enough and that I'll be able to do that. Because what I want to do now is we went through what the big major ones are, but what I want to give you is the ebb and flow of how the EKG of the Jewish year, how you're supposed to feel or what you're supposed to feel. And how did all these other holidays get into our lives? Anyone have a favorite holiday that we didn't mention? Meaning a non-biblical holiday? I like Yom Ha'atzmaut. I like Israel Independence Day because I feel grateful that I was born during a time where there was a modern state of Israel. I like Purim. I like Purim because it makes me feel okay to not have Mardi Gras. And Purim is the great reminder that we don't always have to be serious. Also, Purim was what got us ready for the pandemic. We all learned to wear masks. So I am going to share my screen in just a moment, unless anyone has anything to say, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm going to see why my computer isn't charging.
We used to dress up as kids, and that was fun. And I remember last year I went to another synagogue where there was a younger female rabbi, and she dressed up as Wonder Woman, and I will always remember that.
Well, last year and the year before, I dressed up as Gritty.
As what?
Gritty,
What's that?
the Flyers mascot, Gritty.
Oh, I
Yeah.
don't watch much hockey. Sorry.
So, yeah, Fran.
Can you link a little bit more what you were just talking about? I understood the relationship between Pesach and Song of Songs, but why Shavuot and the reading of Ruth?
Ruth.
What-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Shavuot is the celebration of the Bikurim, the festival that really talks about first fruits and harvest. And the book of Ruth is really all about there being not enough food. And so her family, Ruth and Naomi and Boaz and all the whole family has to move.
Yeah, you said that. I'm sorry. I didn't.
No, that's okay. And listen, I've taken some Bible classes 2 or 3 times because I don't get it. So I need to relearn. And actually, my favorite Talmud teacher at the seminary, Dr. Zlotnick, used to say, you need to learn something 3 times, but all the advertising people tell you how many times you need to hear something till you actually get it? 17 times. Yeah. Okay. So I want to show you what the ebb and flow of the Jewish year really looks like. And next week, we're going to do a little more in depth. So it's not here again. How do I find it? Okay, got to give me a sec.
Mhm.
I don't know why it's not here.
When you hit share screen,
Yeah, it's not on the screen.
it's not in the little window.
Nope, I mean, I'm opening it again. Okay, maybe it'll work now. Let me try it again. You know, technology is not my first language, but I'm learning.
Mhm. Wonderful.
Okay. Can you see this? Should I make it larger for y'all? Can you see it?
But we don't see a full page. We only see the top.
What do you mean you only see the top?
We see a dart. Is that the full page? Yeah, now we see the whole thing.
Yeah, but I only want you to see that page. Nope.
So friends, if depending upon how you have the other folks set up, there's a double short white line that separates the view of the participants with the screen, and you can move that back and forth to make it bigger.
Okay, do you see it now? It says the Jewish holiday calendar.
Yes.
I'm hearing a lot of feedback. Are you all hearing that? Okay, I hear it. All right, so if I want you to go to the bottom left corner where it says Elul. Elul, 7th month of the year. So if I wanted to go look in Elul and what holidays do I have? Rosh Hashanah, 1st of Elul, or 1st of Tishrei. Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Shmini Atzeret, and Simchat Torah. What's the day relationship between all of them? Rosh Hashanah, 1st of Tishrei. How many days later is Yom Kippur? Just someone jump in.
10.
10. 10 days after Rosh Hashanah is Yom Kippur, and then 4 days later is Sukkot. What is the difference between the feeling of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot? Because each one's supposed to have a different feeling. So Rosh Hashanah, joyous, potential, hopeful, a new year. Our prayers will be accepted. Yom Kippur, much more serious.
Solemn.
Solemn, serious. I often always say to myself, I wish people would come for Yom Kippur, who come for Yom Kippur would come back for Sukkot. Sukkot, 8 days of incredible joy. It's called Zman Simchatenu, the holiday of our joy. You're outside, the davening, the prayer service is beautiful. You get to do Hallel, Psalms of praise, just beautiful. Sukkot is connected to Shmini Atzeret, the 8th day of the holiday of Sukkot, and Simchat Torah is an add-on holiday. In Israel, Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah are one. Who knows why we have 2 days of Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot?
The message didn't get all the, in Israel, the message was quick. When you're outside of Palestine, the message took a longer time to get there.
You have 2 devices on? It's hard to hear you. Okay, right. So the ancient message is they would announce the new month. And if you lived outside of ancient Palestine, it was hard to know when the right day was. Today, we say that those who live in the diaspora have to do something different to acknowledge they're not living in the land of Israel. Okay, jump to the month of Cheshvan. Everyone see that? Name me all the holidays in Cheshvan. So there's one. It became a national, what?
Well, I know you mentioned recently that Sigd.
Sigd. Can you tell them what Sigd is?
It's an Ethiopian observance.
Yeah, so Sigd, remember, like, there's Jews all over the world, and these Jews, the Jews from Ethiopia, didn't join the rest of the Jewish people till the 1980s. When they came to Israel in 1985, the state of Israel acknowledged Sigd as a Jewish holiday. It's 50 days after Yom Kippur. It's at the end of Cheshvan, and it celebrates Moses having some, revelation with God. So I think it's about like the burning bush or that first revelation. But before that, we would say there's no sadness in Cheshvan. Why did we say that? Because the actual name of Cheshvan is Mar Cheshvan, but has nothing to do with it being bitter or not. It's just traces back to its etymology. Okay, the next holiday is this month that we're in, this Hebrew month. Happy or sad? Hanukkah. Anyone want to jump in? Happy or sad?
Happy.
Happy. But if we really tell the story of the Maccabees,
Problematic.
Problematic, right? We don't want our children to be as fundamentalist as the Maccabees were, right? So 2 stories, one a military story, one a story that the rabbis put together about oil, but all stories about miracles. What's the date of Hanukkah? Anyone know?
25th of Kislev.
Yes. What other holiday in the world happens on the 25th of something?
Christmas.
Yeah. So obviously they're related. Obviously. I mean, not in meaning, but they are somewhat like solstice holidays. They are holidays bringing light into times of darkness. So whether we would have had Hanukkah as that holiday, we would have something, as do most cultures. Okay, Tevet, nothing doing. Another quiet time just to get ready for your Tu B'Shvat Seder, Tu B'Shvat, one of the holidays, one of the Rosh Hashanahs. one of the New Year for the trees. What is Tu B'Shvat? What's the date? It's a trick question if you know Hebrew. Tu B'Shvat is the date. Tu B'Shvat, the 15th of the month of Shvat. Purim, the middle of the month of Adar. Why are Jewish holidays that come about later in Jewish history, they're not in the Torah? Why do you think Jewish holidays are at the 15th of the month? Take a guess.
A full moon, the moon?
Yeah, you're right. If you live in a society where, Ben Franklin hasn't come along yet to invent to harness electricity, and you are having to burn the oil, burn the candle, you're going to have your celebrations of holidays in the middle of the month when there's more light. So, yeah, Evelyn.
Rabbi, I just want to go back to Tu B'Shvat for a minute. You can hear me okay? You can hear me?
Perfect.
Okay. I have a friend, Marcia Stickler. I mentioned her name. She was a member of the Jewish Center and she moved up to Westchester County a few years ago. But the point is, she always does a Seder for Tu B'Shvat with different kinds of wine, from the light wine to the dark wine, for the different kinds of different kinds of fruit with that edible. You can eat the whole thing with the seed inside, and she's created her whole like a Seder, like a Haggadah.
It is a Seder.
And she's done this for many years, and she's invited me, and when she had it, she used to live in West Windsor near me, and now she lives near White Plains, and I drive up there, and it's lovely. But I don't know anybody else who does this, and I just want
I do it every year.
Actually, the Jewish Center, we did it last year.
Oh, you did? All right.
Yep.
And the Haggadah, do you have one? Or Marcia created this amazing thing.
There's lots of Haggadahs, just like people create Passover ones. There's lots of Haggadahs online. There's lots of them. And I'm letting Linda Grannis know that we plan to do one this year as well.
And I think the religious school's always done it, right, Ellen?
Yes.
I was just going to say, we the whole time I taught at the nursery school, we had a Tu B'Shvat Seder every year for the preschoolers, and we do it in the religious school. We've done it for years.
For the last many years, the Tu B'Shvat Seders have really been contemporarized to really talk about climate control and about water usage. So we hope to be able to do those things again and again.
That's wonderful. I think kids can really relate to that, and of course
they
the
do.
younger
They've
ones,
been
but
doing it
the
for
older
decades
ones too. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Okay, Purim, a late Jewish holiday, added really late in Jewish history. We don't actually know when it occurred because we don't know if it occurred, but it's a fun holiday, probably one of my favorites. Purim, the reminder that anti-Semitism was and is. But there's a big but here, but that's not what we're supposed to dwell on. And if we, living in a really free country with a lot of protections, can't figure that out, but Jews were able to celebrate Purim during pogroms, we got to get our Purim on. We live really well, we got to get Purim on, because the Jews are really serious. And so Purim is our one time to mask ourselves so we can unmask who we really are. Pesach, 15 days after. So if you think there's a holiday every month in the spring, in the early spring, you're right. There's a holiday every month in the middle of the month. Tu B'Shvat, Purim, Pesach. On Purim, you give people gifts of bread and cookies and treats. And then less than a month later, you have to have your house rid of bread and cookies and treats. The darndest thing. Also, somebody needs to tell Girl Scouts of America that their cookie sales need to not be a week or two before Passover, because the Jews will buy many more cookies if they sell them here. Okay, after Passover, we say we have the most crowded time in the Jewish calendar, besides the part of the Jewish calendar that we all think is the high holidays. For those of us who are deeply invested in all of our holidays, This is the big day of modern holidays. We call them the 4 Yoms. Actually, there's one missing here, but Yomashoav. Its actually real title is Yomashoav v'Hagivura, the day of Holocaust remembrance and bravery, remembering both the Holocaust and the bravery. Yom HaZikaron, Israel Memorial Day, followed that night when it's over, Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel Independence Day. Lag BaOmer, an older holiday with a little bit less significance. And then the one that's missing here is Yom Yerushalayim in 1967, when Jerusalem was unified. So ups and downs of the Jewish year, you know what's missing here? All the fast days. I talked about one of the fast days that most of us didn't know about. It's called Som Gedalia. I talked about it a couple weeks ago. Anyone remember what it's about? So Gedalia was a governor in the Jewish people and was murdered by a Jew. So the next time that happened was when Rabin was murdered. Okay, we're gonna do a little review right here. 3 biblical harvest festivals which tell the Torah's central narrative: liberation, revelation, journey to the promised land. Which one's Passover?
Liberation.
Liberation. Shavuot.
Revelation.
Revelation. We hear God's voice. We get the Torah. We get the 10 Commandments. And then Sukkot,
The promised
journey
land.
to the promised land. These are the most important of our holidays. And Shabbat, Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur, but the Shalosh Regalim. These are the holidays that if we all had our wish, if I had my wish, these are the holidays everyone would not only do stuff at home, but would come to shul and make our shul community festive as well. So what I'm going to send to you this week is a review. I'm going to show you what the review page looks like. Here, it's the name of the holiday. So we'll start with Sukkot. It's a fall harvest festival, commemorates our ancestors' journey through the desert. Sukkot's joyful, a time for focusing on gratitude. It tells you when, tells you what the major rituals are. Remember I said you have to take notes, it's all here. Tells you what the major rituals are. And then I'm going to send you pages about each one, about what we do and the customs for each one. What I'd like to, hold on. What I'd like to do next time we meet, which is not next week, but the week after, is to delve deeply into each holiday, into its rituals, and think about which rituals work for you. Which rituals have you never done? And which would you like to try? So let me give you a couple ideas about what I mean by that. So do you search for leaven in your house the night before Passover? Do you then burn it the next day? So this year, we're going to invite you to search for leaven in your house and then come to the Jewish Center the morning of Seder, the morning before Seder. We're going to have a siyum. Anyone know what a siyum is? So who here is a firstborn? Okay, so you are commanded to fast the day before Passover. Right? Well, all that cooking's done. Someone's making gefilte fish, someone's making stuffing. You can't try it unless you can celebrate in some way. So what we do is someone learns a whole piece of Mishnah or Talmud or something, and then you come to the party that I'll throw for my learning a whole order of Mishnah or a whole chapter of Talmud or something. We'll celebrate that, and then because it's a celebration, I can throw a meal. So then all those firstborns won't have to fast. What I'll then ask you to do is to bring your chametz and to burn it. Have you ever burned your chametz? Any of you? So we're going to come to the Jewish Center and we're going to burn our chametz. But we're going to make it a little bit more fun. We're going to also, do you all sell your chametz? Do that legal fiction? So we're going to sell it I'm going to sell it publicly for you to someone that's not Jewish. We're going to burn our chametz, but we always have to infuse Judaism with a little bit of modern fun. So we're going to invite you to invite all your grandkids and kids to come and watch the siyum, the end of someone learning, and watch the sale. And there's actually a ritual for the sale and a line that each of you will say. But then I'm going to hand you sticks and marshmallows, and we're going to roast marshmallows over the burning chametz, because we're going to make Judaism fun. Shavuot. How many of you have been to a Tikkun Leil Shavuot? All night till the morning. We're going to have a sunrise davening. We're going to stay up all night and we're going to learn. We're going to invite our teenagers to do the same with us. What I'd like to do next week, I'll have sent the information, read it over, and we're going to go through rituals for each holiday. And then here's the assignment. There hasn't been an assignment. The assignment is look at a holiday and think about how we celebrate at the Jewish Center. And one thing that is interesting or fun or engaging that we could add and bring our community out and together. I know that we have a lot planned for Hanukkah. One of the things we have planned is we're very excited that for those of us, or for those of you who can't drive at night, we're going to have a daytime Hanukkah party on December 1st at 11 a.m. But we will also have things going on every night of Hanukkah. Did you all get the email about the Devils? So if you want to go to the hockey game and see the Maccabees, please RSVP by tomorrow. And I got my first Hanukkah swag today, getting ready. Though it is my goal that at the Jewish Center, we will have as many people for Sukkot and Simchas Torah, Pesach and Shavuot as we have for Yom Kippur. That we will be able to bring people into the shul community for something on all of our joyous holidays, as much as all of our solemn holidays, because life's rough. So we need to celebrate. I'm going to stop talking and ask. I'm not a diehard hockey person, but I do go. Yeah, I go. But my team's orange and black, which works well for Princeton. So some final comments about holidays.
Can I just, the hockey thing sounds interesting. I don't think I've ever hung out with anyone here before. I don't think I've ever seen anyone here before outside of the Zoom environment. But it sounds like fun to go to hockey. So maybe.
Yeah.
Am I wrong about that? Have I met anyone in person? Susan, we met. Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
when you came those few times before pandemic.
Oh.
Hat, not ears, hat.
Okay. I don't, sorry.
That's okay, I'm forgettable.
Yeah,
Things
the
are
other
pretty
thing we're going to
straightforward
study
here.
next time we're going to study rituals of holidays and music of holidays, because each holiday has its own deeply different musical tradition, and not just in the Ashkenazic world, in the whole world, deeply different ways of prayer. Okay, anyone have any? My niece and nephew went to the JCC for preschool in Boston, and no one who knows them tell that I'm telling a story about them, Linda Granis. Okay, so some of their friends who are not Jewish would say, "I want to be Jewish. You have so many holidays," which we do, because we know that life's hard. So why not gather every week for Shabbat? Why not gather with our families as often as possible? Getting ready for Shabbat now. And I will say thank you so much for being here. We'll email you this packet. And I won't be here next week because I'll be teaching our regional conversion class. So take some time to think about, read through the stuff and then think about, let's make Tu B'Shvat exciting in this way. Let's make Shavuot exciting in that way, so that we can bring more people in, more people to enjoy the joy of Judaism. Shabbat Shalom. I hope I see you for a double bar bat mitzvah this weekend.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you, Rabbi.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Laila Tov.
Lila Tov.
Violet.
Violet Tov.